name is Stan Cary, and Stan, we're going to let you share what branch of the service you were in and what years you were in. So let's hear that.
You got it, Captain Nancy. All right. So yes, my name is Stanley Cary Jr., United States Marine Corps, and I got out of the Marine Corps at the rank of Staff Sergeant.
And when did you join the service? How old were you, Stan?
Straight out of high school. So that would have been the ripe young age of 18 years old.
And what inspired you to join the service? Was there a reason that you...
Yes. So for me, my senior year was the same year that the Twin Towers dropped. So I was already I had the trajectory of, I'm going to go to college and run track and do all the great things. And then I watched that happen in my first class in the morning. And I was like, oh, it hit me. It just hit me in a different way because I thought, okay, I wasn't thinking in the mindset of a draft or anything like that, but I was just thinking wow, we just got hit. And I definitely want to give back to my country, but more so, I don't know, it catapulted a bunch of emotions. And I was just no, I'm out. I'm leaving. I'm going to go do this. And then if I need to do the college thing on the back end, good. But I felt the urge.
Do you come from a military family, Stan?
Oh, yes. Dad was Marine, or is Marine. A couple of my uncles, 2 Army, 1 Navy. But it was never pushed on us or even on myself. It was... you do it, you do it. You don't, you don't. Because it's a different lifestyle. And I know my dad was just I'd rather you just do something else anyways. But so I didn't tell my mom or my dad. I come from a divorced household, so I didn't tell them I was signing up. I was 18 years old, so I was able to do it on my own. So that's what I did. I was I'm becoming a young man, independent. Yeah, right.
Did you go to basic training or boot camp? And if so, what was that like for you?
That's a beautiful question. Yes. So I went to boot camp at Paris Island, South Carolina. I was 3rd Battalion recruit, spirit and discipline through and through. So that was where I think I found my calling. When I went to boot camp, it was just, I don't even know how people fall in love with boot camp, but I did. It was complete. It was the structure. I didn't mind being demeaned. I didn't mind pushing the limit. I went to boot camp during the middle of the summer in South Carolina where it's often Black Flag. And it was brutal, but I loved it.
So when you say it was often Black Flag, what do you mean by that?
So Black Flag, you have your temperatures down in South Carolina. Black Flag, you can't train. They have green, red, and all the colors. And those are certain levels where you can't go outside and everything. But it was often, I remember that year, it was often Black Flag. So we had to train slow, do things different, or go find some shade where a drill instructor was okay, well, I'm going to deviate from this anyways, and we're going to get it. Because we have to drill. But it's a fun experience, and I know the training landscape has changed in Paris Island. I know we get into the whole co-ed deal and merging and things like that. But
you loved it.
I loved it so much that I actually went back to be a drill instructor. That was after just 6 years into the Marine Corps. I was you know what? I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go make Marines. And oh boy.
Did you love that too?
I loved it. It was different because, even at that point, we were dead in the height, still kicking indoors in Iraq and Afghanistan. That was 2009. They opened up an old company called Quebec Company, which is, if anybody knows Paris Island, out in the training regiment, those overflow barracks, you're pumping them out. Recruits are going through because we're in the height of war. So, I think I'm out of the statute of limitations now. So yeah, things get crazy out there. Yeah, I'll say that. Probably leave it there. Yeah. But yeah, definitely a different experience. and being, you know, either being trained as a Marine, coming into a mindset of, you know, war navigation, and then training recruits still. This is how I like to say it, is that a drill instructor's responsibility is to fix in 3 months what a parent messed up in 18 years. And we have to give a young adult the mindset to become a trained warfighter, to be willing to be a sacrifice at the end of the day. That's literally what you're doing. And to, without a doubt, care for your brother and sister to your left and your right. And be there for them. Like, this story is no longer about you. There is no concept of selfishness. It is all a sacrifice. And that's how I like to chop it up, because if an individual can bring on that moral fiber and that concept, then you have a worthy individual.
Wow. So primarily, was that your job in the military, or what other things did you do?
So I went in for like artillery, and then I ended up, because I was open contract. Go figure. So I was told hey, you're artillery. And then I ended up in North Carolina for like administration, like legal school. And then first duty station ended up in Japan. I got fapped out to Kadena as in the air wing doing flight planning. So I was like, I'm just a gopher? Okay, cool. Because I got to see a lot of countries. I got to do a lot of island hopping while I was there. And then even getting back stateside, I ended up in Quantico, you know, at the Mace, doing the fighting, got the black belt and all the things. And I think that's where it was just like, actually at that point, I ended up in New Jersey at a 6 Motor Transport Battalion. And the unit was about to be deployed, and I got orders to the drill field. And that's what was like, game on. Here we go.
You've had a lot of really great experiences, it sounds like.
Yeah. Yes and no.
Some great, some not quite as great. Stan, how long were you in the military?
10 years on the dot. Yeah. Some people are like, why didn't you just... But at that point, you know, the wife and I, we had a couple of kids. The drill field changed things in me. It changed, like, potentially the way my career would go. And it was just like, enough is enough. And I guess I just wanted different. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but there came a point in my career where I literally felt like, in my faith, I couldn't serve God and be a Marine. I struggled with that. And so literally got an open door, and then I had to engage into the civilian sector, which still I battle with today. It's hard, especially when you're coming directly off of the drill field, where essentially I would say, I would openly admit there is a concept of brainwash that happens to someone, especially when you bite the soap there. It's like, oh, I'm all in. You could be too in. And I think that did definitely happen to me, and it I'm still affected by it. I love it. Some people love it just for how I work, like how I am. Some people like aggressiveness. I try to be tactful and mind my bearing. But I think it is a beautiful work ethic to then obtain and have
You get the job done.
I try.
Well, so you mentioned this a little bit, you spoke about it, but what was it like when you were discharged? Did you immediately know what you were going to do?
No,
or?
And mine wasn't like that. It was just like that. That's where I think some feelings can come in, because, and I know the military probably has done a better job now. It was almost as like, okay, you did this for us, now go. Like, we'll give you a couple of classes, your Tips and Taps class, but go find your way. That's not the way to do that. You know what I mean? It's like throwing a child out to the wolves. Now, I think they have implemented like family readiness officers and people to kind of come alongside and shepherd you. But no, I didn't have the best exit. And I battled, a lot of mental things as I departed from there, because I didn't get the proper services as I made my exit. Trials and tribulations come, you know what I mean? I can say I'm still married now
Yeah.
till today because
Saying
like
a lot.
anybody that knows, like you go to the drill field, or if I'm not mistaken, you actually sign a waiver to even go to that duty station, and you're married. Like so the individual doesn't bring it back like, oh, you did this to me, my marriage failed, because it's hard to survive.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 3-year deployment, that you're giving up family, like all the things. So, but we survived.
It feels like your family's as much a part of the service sometimes as you are.
Yeah, without a doubt. My wife is my backbone. She's my joint heir to life.
Mm-hmm.
But there it was just all in.
Yeah.
And I think even prior to, you think in your regular day to day, your wife, or counterpart, they're just a part of what you do,
Mm-hmm.
but they are your backbone.
Yeah.
Truly. So.
Can you remember a particular difficult day that you had in the service? Something that was, or
Okay, no, finish your question.
no, something that was just difficult for you to get through, perhaps.
Man, that's a good question. I don't, because I try to extend grace in all situations. I would say I remember one particular tough incident was like leaving, I remember leaving Quantico, and just like, I don't know, there was something like I loved about the duty station. I loved about being like just, I don't know. It was something about it, and I kind of felt heartbroken leaving a duty station. That was probably one, and then going to New Jersey, just figuring out life, another kid on the way, just like a lot of emotions. That was I don't know why, for some reason, like I can remember what I was playing, leaving the base. That hurt, and probably like just getting out of the Marine Corps, like not having that time to settle into civilian life and having to figure out what are the next steps. I'd probably say those are the two big pinnacle ones that just, they sting almost.
How about a really good day or a memory that you have of being in the service?
Graduating boot camp, without a doubt. Like I remember that. What's crazy is I had a true gift. So my drill instructors, so it would be like my third hat who would kill us every day, and then my senior drill instructor. I got the treat of having the third hat, my senior drill instructor, and my recruiter at my when I pinned on staff sergeant on the parade deck of the new 3rd Battalion. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I was the very first Marine to get promoted out there, and I had all 3 of those individuals there.
Wow.
Yes. That to me was like...
That was incredible.
I got that one on you guys.
Aw. Well, let me ask you this, Stan. Would you encourage young people today to join the service? You would?
Yes, I would. Now I'm, yes, I love the Marine Corps. I love everything about it. Getting out, you see that there is more to the other branches. Yes, some have more aspects of discipline and obedience. But I think they all offer something good to get you on a different plateau of life. You take advantage of the benefits. Like, if you don't have a clear path and plan for what you're going to do, and a good way to not like start your next season of life in debt, take advantage of the military. Like, use it, because they've built multiple things where you can become a very well trained individual, and especially for something that will translate to the civilian side. I never kind of had this talk. I was, you go in during a wartime event. You don't know what you're going to do. Like, you'll kick doors afterwards. I don't know. But now it's like, no, we work with UPMC. You can become a healthcare worker. Like, there are many options. And then the simple fact that you get to be embraced in this too, it's a beautiful thing. So no, I would challenge all, like, no, you probably need to go to the military so that you can get more structure in your life and more a sense of actually what independence is. But that, I know it's hard for parents to let their children go.
Stan, I think you kind of touched on this, but what is a lesson that you learned from the military that you'll just never forget?
I was almost about to say like just discipline by any means necessary.
Mm-hmm.
No, I will say that.
Mm-hmm.
I think, becoming a very well disciplined individual, it helps. Like in the military sector, it helps just in your day to day. Out here, you get to stay, you get to stay on track, and because it's ingrained in you. There's, I don't know if this is going to get edited, but there's lethargicism in this world, and we gain it. You know what I mean? I think by nature, by people, we're lazy. You know what I mean? It's for us to like combat those things. So having, just something embedded in you where it's like that conviction says to go. Yeah.
You did mention a little bit about some of the changes that you've seen in the military over the years. Do you see changes? Do you think they're good changes, bad changes?
Yes, because I'll say this, and I don't think this is political. Let me stick with the good, is that we have been more intentional, and I said we. I think all of the branches have done good by being willing to be educators. Education is prominent. You know what I mean? You're not going to always have that individual in a uniform. We need to build into the people to be very conducive, upstanding citizens of society. You only get that by situations that you've been in, by being educated, by being very valuable leaders, by taking advantage of all the courses that they have in war colleges and being mindful leaders. I think we're in a time where the military is about education. I think it's a beautiful thing, because you need your brain.
Do you have a different perspective now? I mean, obviously, as we, the years go by, you looking back and the further distance you get away from your date of discharge, how does that look for you now? And how do you relate to maybe some veterans of past generations based on that? That's kind of a two-parter.
Yeah. Oh, man. Let me hone in, I guess, on one part, which would be like, when you say like the date of discharge, like how I perceive the landscape to be, or how does this relate to me, or just like to the military itself?
To you, just like your take on things as an 18-year-old going in.
Yes.
And then, you went in for 10 years, and then, obviously there was some bumpy roads there right after discharge.
Correct.
But the more years out.
That going by. You know what? Okay. So this would be some advice. Definitely, if anyone is seeing this and can build into individuals that are currently in, stop being lazy, go to school while you're in. Like, figure out a battle plan. Even if you're in and you're in an MOS, you're doing a job that, you like it, but you do not know how it's going to transfer to afterwards. If they have an opportunity for you to like get cross-trained and do something else, a lateral move, do it, because it's going to benefit you. As you get out, definitely read the room and know the signs. I wasn't a good steward of that. I think even when I checked into like the VA clinic, so we can go through the process of everything. Be willing to admit the things that it will catch up to you. You have PTSD, like whatever, how your body ailments are, mention it. Yes, it'll benefit you. It's documented. These things essentially, these play in your favor now, because you went into the military as a well-oiled machine. Now you get out, your body's torn down. Compensation, yes, that comes, but also like, just be willing to be vulnerable. That's what I'll say. Be willing to be vulnerable, and don't be prideful in it. Take that from someone who was very prideful and like, no, nothing's wrong. until something bad happened. And I mean, I thank God that it did happen, because it really woke me up. But, you know, when an individual is battling inside emotionally and willing to depart from all the things that you've been gifted in life, that's not healthy.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you did all this for your family, but yet now you want to take yourself away from your family because you're battling. No, that's not healthy. So, yeah, be willing to be vulnerable, pay attention, read the room. I think those are the biggest things that I would mention. And be proud of, you know, whatever service branch you were in. You know, I think we all should be recruiters, because we've been through the things. A very high individual up in HR of UPMC asked me the other day, have you ever been a recruiter? And I was like, no. I was a drill instructor, so I knew what the recruiters were sending, and I also wanted to be knowledgeable of what I was going to be a part of shaping. You know, you can tell when someone has potential to be good and great, or somebody just really they need some extra TLC, whatever that TLC looks like. But yeah, like I think in life, as going into my 40s, all I think of is reading the room, being mindful to pay attention to people, because we all need to be seen. And that's military and non-military. That's our job. See each other. Like, pick your heads up out of the phones. See people where they are and love them with the correct amount of love and the right love.
So just to close out, that second part of that question was relating to other veterans. I don't know if when your dad served, if he was in combat or not, or what that looked like for him, but are you able to relate to him in a different way, or other members of like a generation before you? I just used him as an example.
Okay, so it's crazy, because I fight this emotion. Like well, my dad, because he came up in the Marine Corps like through the 80s, and we don't talk much about it. You know what I mean? I don't know. We don't. If anything, we talk about more just like the athleticism, places we've been, and things that we were able to do. Now, I am not in that stage of life where I have maybe the time and the ultimate willingness to, sit and chop it up with, we call them killer tomatoes, the old vets with the red jackets who are super proud. I love those dudes. I see them, I'm like, man, will I be one of those? Like, I haven't claimed that title yet. I do want to hear their stories. I think their stories are valuable, because without their stories and where they've been, we wouldn't be here. But I know, I'll willingly admit, I haven't hit that stage of my life where I can be a very valuable listener to them. And I want to be able to give them that respect to say, like, I want to hear, like, where you've been. I'm still a dad raising a 4-year-old and all the things. Schedule's busy. However, they paid their dues. And so if you do get out, I guess, so to answer that question, when you do get out and you do have that urge to want to learn what your history was like, because you're part of that paint and that fiber, go do that. Because trust me, they'll tell you some stories. They'll probably even fabricate it a little bit, but it's good. You know what I mean? That's what I would say. Killer tomatoes, coin that.
I love that. But I love that you said, that you recognize that you're not at a stage that you can be a valuable listener. Love that. That's really good. Yeah.
If you had it to do all over again, Stan, would you sign back up for the Marines
in a heartbeat?
In a heartbeat.
In a heartbeat. Yeah. In a heartbeat.
I have one last question for you, and I don't know if Ashley might have some questions then, but this is being taped, of course, you know that. And I'm wondering if you would have a message for your family, or your kids, or your wife, if they happen to watch this in the years to come. Would you have a message for them about...
What would my wife say? Because Stan's about... See, I'm fighting back Stan. You know what? I guess just said the family, I love you. You know, I did what I did for you, not knowing where God and where this season of life would bring me to. And I hope that you are appreciative as to where we've been.
Anything as we close out here? Anything additional that you want to add that we haven't asked? Or
If you don't know Nancy Patchen or Ashley Stensland of UPMC out here in Williamsport area, you ought to know them. They're lovely individuals.
thank you, Stan.
Yes.
Thanks.